Good morning and welcome to Miracles on Monday with Mary Ellen. We are once again here on a beautiful Monday morning in Chattanooga, Tennessee with Miracles on Monday. And our topic for today is the miracle of manners. Now, manners are a big part of creating a successful and a peaceful life. They show that you have respect for yourself, and they also show you have respect for the other person. Manners can be a noun, a thing, or it can be a verb, an action word. I like to think of manners as an action word because good manners will require you to present yourself in a certain way. Now, there is a historical significance to manners, coming from the French word of etiquette, which means a set of conventional rules for personal behavior in a proper society. Today, instead of the word etiquette, we use the word manners. We find manners dating all the way back to 2375 BC in the Egyptian culture with a scroll written by the scribe Ptahhotep called Maxims of Ptahhotep. This scroll describes truthfulness, self-control, and kindness towards people, way back in 2375. Now, during the 18th century, in the Age of Enlightenment, conventions of politeness, charm, and manners became symbolic of identifying a person of a member of a certain class of people. In America, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington wrote codes of conduct for young gentlemen. Also, advice columns and books on manners by Miss Manners shows the popularity of this topic in today's society. Now, manners can be defined as managing our words and actions, whereby we make people feel better about themselves while showing a positive side of ourself. Manners reveal your upbringing and how conscientious an employee or a student you might be in the future. You do not have to be brought up with manners to have manners, as manners can always be learned. When you are speaking to a person with manners, they just don't listen. They listen without interrupting, and they listen without judging. They look you in the eye, and they ask questions that show a genuine interest in the topic you are speaking about. They respect you for who you are, not for anything you might be able to do for them. Now, manners should not be an occasional thing. Manners should be practiced as a way of life, because quality manners, again, signal a respect for yourself and respect for other people. When you have good manners in every situation, you immediately stand out as an exceptional person. Good manners can open many doors and opportunities for acceptance, approval, admiration, and respect from others. Now, of course, there are many different types of manners, especially today. There are manners for children, ladies, gentlemen, table manners, internet manners, cell phone manners, and I could go on and on. Also, manners will come and go by the wayside or change as our society changes. Now, men, when they enter a room or a house or a business, will take off their hats. Now, this comes from an old custom where men would wear hats because the streets weren't paved or they rode horses. So the hats would keep the dust from their hair and from their face. So when they came into a building, instead of getting that dirt and that dust in the building, they would dust off their hat and hang it on a peg by the door. Today in our society, men still should take off their hats upon entering a home or a business. Never point your finger or stare came from cultures who believed when you stared at them or pointed your finger, you were casting a spell, and it was an evil thing to do. Now, pulling out a lady's chair by a gentleman came about because of the types of clothing the ladies were wearing. The skirts were so big and so hooped that they could not get into a chair without it being pulled out for them. So the gentleman would pull the chair out, the lady would sit down, and he would then help them scoot in a little bit. Now, blessing someone after a sneeze was because cultures used to think that when you sneezed, you lost part of your soul, and bad health would follow. So now the word Gesundheit, which means blessings of God in German, and we say bless you in this culture, is because you want that person to have good health. Men should pay came from the custom that men had jobs and earned money, and women did not. So when they went out on an excursion, the men would pay for the woman. Now, the placement of utensils in a place setting was, number one, so that germs wouldn't be spread from one food to another, and also for safety. The meat knife or the cutting knife is placed closest to the plate with the blade facing the plate. This is so when you brush your hand across the table, you won't cut your hand on the blade of that knife. The salad fork is to the left of the plate, all the way, it's first, because you eat from you use your utensils from the outside in, and salad comes before the main course. Shaking hands between people came about because when the kings or the emperors would shake hand, it would show that they were in equal power. Also, it was a balance of energy, and it also came to be known as a word. Like, we didn't have written contracts, so your word was your bond, and when you shook somebody's hand, it was also a sacred trust. Also in the West, men would check for weapons. When you shook somebody's hand, they would look inside to see if you had a gun, or they would check to see if they had a knife up their sleeve. Now, good manners show the best you have to offer and encourage others to be their best also. Practicing manners on a daily basis makes for a more pleasant and peaceful life. Now, I'm going to give you 12 simple manners you can practice this week and teach your children to practice also. Of course, to have good manners, you have to first have them inside yourself. So you can't just show your children, you must also be these manners for your children. Number one is to be thoughtful. Be thoughtful of other people. Wake up and ask your children, gee, what could we do for somebody today? What could we do for your dad? What could we do for your brother? So be thoughtful. 2, be careful. Of course, we always teach our children to be careful outside, not to run across the street without looking for cars. But be careful around the house also. Put their toys away so people will not trip. 3, be generous. How can you be generous? Be kind and be generous. Don't just hoard your things. Be generous. As you give to others, you shall receive. Be cooperative with others, and be cooperative with a kind tone. Don't be cooperative in a mean way. Be cooperative and teach your children to be cooperative with each other. Number 5 is to be helpful. How can you help each other? How can you be quiet and help each other? 6 is to speak with kindness, being heard and understood. If I came on these miracles on Monday and you could not hear me or understand what I am saying, then I shouldn't be here at all. So when you speak to your children and when they are speaking to you, make sure they speak with kindness and they're heard and they're understood. 7, say nice things or don't say anything at all. And of course, no gossip. 8 is to respect others' privacy. Number 9 is to take care of personal property and the property of others. 10, give genuine compliments. Not just an offhand compliment just because you want to say something. Give genuine compliments. 11, be punctual. When you are not punctual, it shows a lack of respect for the person's time. Their time is as valuable as yours. So be punctual and teach your children to be punctual. 12 is to act and look your best. You don't always have to have the best outfit or the newest, latest fashion. And you can be clean. And you can smell well. You can take showers and you can wash your face. And of course, as we're learning right now in COVID-19, wash your hands. Thank you for joining me on Miracles on Monday. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Join me next week on Miracles on Monday when I will be talking about the miracle of enthusiasm. And I see all of you that have joined, Marty, Chandra, Pauline, Tina, Manny, and I know there are many others of you. Thank you so much. You bless me with your presence, and I hope I do a good job for you. I'll see you next week at 8 a.m.